Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Wherever you are, I greet you all in the name of Jesus. My name is Aline Mutoni. I am your host, and I am so glad that you decided to join us today to listen to an amazing and powerful and life-changing story of Mr. Fidele. And I know that you did not join by take, whether you are a genocide survivor, whether you are a genocide perpetrator, whether you are just a random who needs to know the history of your country, whether you are an international person who needs to know the history of Rwanda or the history of Africa in general. So we welcome you. I know I have all kind of audience. I have people from Rwanda, I have people from Europe, from America, from Asia. So I thank you for wanting to know the truth, because the Bible says you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. So without further ado, my name is Aline. I'm a published author. I am a life coach. I'm a geologist. But above all things, I'm a child of God, and I do this with one goal and one goal alone: to bring the light in the darkness, to allow people to find a place to share their truth, so that they can find their healing, so that they can leave a legacy to their loved one, especially as survivors, so that we can teach our children the truth of what really happened to us. So, without further ado, I'm going to welcome the people. So, we are missing one person who is the translator. He's having trouble connecting, so I'm praying, because I do not want to translate. So, I'm praying hard that he will be able to join us so that I don't have to translate, because that is not my favorite thing to do. But without further ado, I would like to welcome everybody. But I will start with Mr. Omistas. Mr. Omistas, can you introduce yourself and tell us who you are?
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Hormis Dasindashimie. I'm author of two books, Heritage from Father and Sortir indemne door interdit Genocide. I live in Rwanda, at Butare, with my wife and the two children. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Omistas. So without further ado, I would like Mr. Fidele to introduce himself, and he's going to speak in Kinyarwanda. So I am praying that God will give me the strength to translate him, and I'm also praying that the translator will find the good way and the good tools to join us, so that I don't have to translate, because I do not like to translate. But Mr. Fidele, mushobora kugenda, mushobora kwi-introducing.
Ndabaramutsa, nitwa Fidele Twagirumukiza, nkaba mba mu Rwanda, nanjye mbi Kigali niho ntuye.
So he says his name is Fidele Twagirumukiza. He lives in Kigali, Rwanda. That's where he lives.
Hanyuma ndimo ndandika igitabo cyitwa ngo Rya joro ry'iwacu, uko nahunze Ngororero.
So he is in process of finishing his book titled How I Survived the Genocide from running from Ngororero to
Kabgayi.
To Kabgayi.
Yeah. Noneho ubwo nkaba ndi hano kugira ngo mbasangize muri make icyo gitabo ndimo nandika, mbaho ubuhamya bwanjye.
So he's here to share his story with you, with us, that and to actually tell his story and share his story with everybody here.
Nshobora gutangira?
Yes, mutangire. Mushobora no
ubuhamya,
ariko nimuvuge byinshi so that I can translate.
Okay, yego. Ubuhamya bwanjye rero n'igitabo cyanjye nakigabanyije mu byiciro bine. Icyiciro cya mbere ukurikije amatariki.
So his book was subdivided in 4 parts according to date and time of events that happened in his life.
igice cya mbere gitangirana n'itariki 10 z'Ukwakira 1990.
What is Kwakira?
Octobre.
Okay. Oh
Le
my
mois
God.
d'octobre, le 10
That's the
octobre
first time I hear. That's the
1990.
first time I hear that word. Okay, so the first part starts. Mr. Omistas is laughing at me behind the scene.
Yes.
No, I don't know. I've never heard of Kwakira. Okay, so the events. The first part, so his book is subdivided in 4 parts, and the first part was done in October, started in on October 10th.
October, yes.
October 10th, 1990?
Yes. Igice cya kabiri ni de 1991 à 1993.
The second part is from so his book is divided in 4 parts. The first part is the events of October 10th, 1990. Then the second part is from 1991 to 1993.
Hanyuma igice cya gatatu ni le mois d'avril et juin 1994.
So the third part is from June 1994 from April 1994 to June 1994.
Igice cya nyuma rero nkerekana le 2 juin 1994 ubwo inkotanyi zadukizaga.
So the fourth part is he's showing what happened on June 2nd, 1994, when the Rwandan Patriotic Front came to save them. The events that happened from June 2nd, 1994. So I'm going to repeat it in English. So his book has 4 parts. The first part was the events of October 10th, 1990. The second part was the events from 1991 to 1993. The third part was the events that were done from April 1994 to June 1994. And then the last part was the event that happened from the June 2nd, 1994, when the RPF, the Rwandan Patriotic Front, came to save them.
Ibyo bice byose rero bitangizwa na introduction aho mvuga ku izina nahawe ryitwa ngo Twagirumukiza.
So his book starts by explaining the origin of his name, Twagirumukiza, which means
Twagirumukiza bisobanura ngo que nous ayons un sauveur. We have a sauveur.
We have a savior.
Okay.
So the meaning of his name, of his last name, means we have a savior. And he starts by actually explaining the origin of why his parents named him Twagirumukiza.
Okay, negereye papa wanjye kuko ngira amahirwe yo kuba nkimufite, mubaza impamvu yanyise Twagirumukiza.
So he approached his father while he was writing his book or his memoir, and he asked his father why did he name him Twagirumukiza. Again, I mentioned for the American and everybody who's not Rwandan, in Rwanda we don't carry our father's last name like every other person does, but our father actually decided to name us according to the circumstances in which we were born into. So he went to his father and he asked him, why did you name me Twagirumukiza?
Papa rero aransobanurira arambwira ati impamvu nakwise iryo zina ati navutse mu bihe bibi kuko yavutse mu 1952.
So his father went on and told him that when he was born in 1952. So he was born in a very hard season. So in 1952, which was before the first genocide of 1959.
Yes. mu 1959 batangiye guhunga babatoteza babamereye nabi.
So in
Hanyuma
1959, him and his family were running for their lives during the first genocide against the Tutsis of 1959.
noneho rero amaze kuba umusore ashatse ashyingiwe,
When he
aravuga ati tuzakenera rwose umuntu uzatabara uyu rwa.
So when he became an adult and then when he got married, he started praying that we need a savior that will save us from this genocide, from this genocide, from running, because they were actually running. They were in exile or running. They were refugees of the first genocide of 1959.
kubera ko yari yaranyuze mu byabaye 59, ahura n'iby'6 ahura n'iby'7 arangije aravuga ati icyifuzo cyanjye nuko hazabaho Imana cyangwa se ubundi buryo bwo gutabara kubera ibihe babagamo icyo gihe.
So because he survived the genocide that started in 1959, like during the interview of Mr. Alexandre Karamaje, he was actually talking about how the genocide of 1959 was not just in 1 year, but it expanded like 1961, 62, 63, 73, 70, until 73, they were still killing. So because he was surviving all these killings, he kept on like praying that God would send a savior for the Tutsis.
So ubwo nge navukaga mu 1979, icyifuzo cy'ababyeyi banjye cyari uko u Rwanda rwazagera igihe rukagira amahoro, aho umunyarwanda atembera nta kibazo, aho umuntu wese yisanga akisanzura.
So because he was born in 1979, his parents had a prayer and a wish that one day the Tutsis will be able to travel freely, live freely, and be actually citizens of Rwanda without being afraid of being killed. So his father named him Twagirumukiza with the hope that one day there will be a Rwanda where Tutsis will not be marginalized for the fact of for the reason of being Tutsis.
Nuko rero arambwira ati none Imana yaradusubije ati kuko mwebwe generasiyo zanyu nizo zagize amahirwe yo kwiga, yo kubaho neza, kubera yuko Imana yohereje inkotanyi zirabakiza, ati none ubu ntawe ugenda afite ipfunwe.
So he said God answered his prayer because Fidel's generation, his generation, so his son's generation, experienced that freedom of actually being able to freely study, freely live without having somebody trying to kill them. Like I want to reiterate, because his father was talking about that, because the Hutu's 10 commandment was restricting Tutsis from going to school, from going to university, from being part of the army, from literally doing anything. So the Tutsis were limited. So his father was saying he thanks God because his generation truly are living off the prayer that he had when he had him, to have a country that Tutsi can live freely and not be afraid of being cut to pieces.
Ibyo rero byanteye imbaraga yo kuvuga nti ngomba kwandika amateka y'ibyatubayeho n'ibyo nabonye nkiri mutoya, kuko byose byatangiye mfite imyaka 11 nibwo natangiye kubibona.
So that after having that conversation with his dad, he actually realized he needed to write a book about his experience of how he survived the genocide, because during the genocide he was 11 years old, and he needed to write it so that people can know the story and what he saw from 1990 to 1994.
ubwo mu gihe ku itariki 11 z'ukwezi kwa 10 nibwo byose byatangiye, ubwo nari mfite imyaka 11 nk'uko maze kubivuga.
Okay, so on October 11, 1990, he was 11 years old, and for him, so let me actually reiterate, Fidel is not just the genocide survivor of the genocide of 1994. Fidel and his family became refugees and started running for their life in 1990. So he's talking about his first experience as a genocide survivor. So the experience of his run started October 11, 1990. And he was 11 on October 11, 1990, and he was 11 years old.
Ubwo hari kuwa gatatu tuvuye ku ishuri tugeze mu rugo, dusanga ababyeyi bari kutubwira ngo ntabwo turara mu rugo iryo joro, ntabwo turara iwacu.
It was a Wednesday afternoon when he was coming out from school, and he found his parents telling him, we are not going to sleep home tonight. We are not going to sleep home tonight. We have to go. That was October 11, 1990. 4 years before 1994. I want my viewers, especially my deniers who are following me so well, to hear the date, 1990. October 11, 1990.
1990. Ubwo ababyeyi batujyana ku nshuti yabo twari duturanye y'umuhutu, iratwakira, iraducumbikira njyewe na murumuna wanjye.
So his parents took him to the neighbors, to a Hutu family that were neighbors, him and his sister, so that they can hide in that house in 1990.
Twavukaga turi abana batanu, ubwo abandi batatu bajyana n'ababyeyi.
So there were 5 children, but him and his sister were put in one house, and the other 3 went with his parents.
Noneho rero bo bagenda ukwabo bari kumwe n'ababyeyi, nanjye na murumuna wanjye twebwe bato b'inyuma dusigara kuri uwo muturanyi wacu abari uduhisha icyo gihe.
So him and his sister, they were the last 2 born. So they stayed with the neighbor, the Hutu neighbor, to hide that night. But then his 3 older siblings went with his parents to hide into another house.
Hanyuma bigeze mu gicuku haza abantu bakubita urugi, baravuga ngo bashaka inyenzi zahungiye muri urwo rugo.
So at night they came and they banged on the door of the family that was hosting him and his sister, and in October 11, 1990, they banged on the door and they said they are looking for the cockroaches that are hiding in this house.
Hanyuma uwo musaza yitwaga Nkikabahizi aravuga ati nta nyenzi mfite, n'abuzukuru banjye baje kunsura.
So the neighbor called
Nkikabahizi.
So
Nkikabahizi.
So the neighbor who saved them, who protected them, his name is Nkikabahizi. He said to the killers, he's like, I don't have any cockroaches. The children that in my house are my grandchildren who came to visit me.
To visit me. Okay. Ubwo baratubyutsa, ndabyibuka twari twambaye ubusa turahaguruka.
So they
bari bafite amatoroshi acana cyane.
So they woke him and his sister up, and he remembers that they were not even wearing any clothes. They woke him up because of the torch, because they were putting the torches on him. Oh, thank you, Jesus. The translator is here. Hallelujah. Yes, way. Imani Hibas. Sorry. Muraho, Mr. Francois.
Well,
Imani himazwe. Mwatabazi. Oh, connection you now. What is this? Oh my gosh. Hello?
hello.
Hello?
Muratkumva? Hello? Ntabwo turimo
Connection ishobora kuba
kubumva.
itari
I think
nziza.
connection yanyu ntabwo ari nziza. Muri on mute. Muri on mute. Hello? Mushobora
Connection ye ntabwo ari.
mushobora kukuraho nusa. Can you unmute your mic? Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's okay. I'm gonna remove him from the stream. Can you try to put your mic on? Then I'll put him back. So continue, so that we don't. It's okay.
Okay. I continue.
Yeah.
Ubwo iryo joro rero umusaza aratakamba arabinginga ati mumbabarira aba bana mubihorere.
So almost sorry. I was gonna say it to your other. So the old man, to where they ran to, he told the killers, he's like, please, these are my grandchildren, please don't touch them, these are my grandchildren, don't kill them, they are my grandchildren.
Nuko baravuga bati turabaretse ariko ejo tuzaza kubatwara tubajyane iwabo tubashyire babyeyi babo.
Mr Fidele, Mr Francois, can you hear us? Muratkumva?
Yes, I do. I hear you.
Yay! Okay. So everybody, this is Mr Francois. He's going to be the translator. Thank you, Jesus. Nizeye ko mufite connection nziza so that you can translate.
So far, yes. Hello?
Oh gosh, his network is not the best. Okay, so Muratkumva, can you say something so that we see if your network is good so we can continue?
I do hear you.
His network is not good.
Okay.
Oh God.
Yes.
His network is not good. Okay, because I don't want to
Network.
stop in the middle. Mr. Francois, it's okay. I will translate it because your network is not good. Connection yanyu ntabwo ari nziza, so it's going to break. Abantu ntabwo bashobora connection yanyu ntabwo ari nziza, ntabwo turimo kubumva neza.
Okay, now
yeah, ntabwo dushobora kumva neza. It's okay. I will translate it for today, and then we'll figure out for next time how we're gonna deal with his network. Okay, so yes. Okay, so the old man, the old man begged the killers. He said, you know what, I'm going to take my grandchildren back to their home tomorrow. They won't be in my house anymore, but please don't touch them.
Nuko baranga baravuga ngo aba bana bagume hano ntibagire aho bajya ejo tuzagaruka tubatware.
Oh, so the killers actually told that man. He said, don't let these kids leave this house. We are coming to get them tomorrow.
Ubwo iryo joro barakomeza basanga hari umusaza witwa Bishumba twari duturanye, we yari yanze guhunga, yanze kuva mu rugo. Iryo joro baramutwara baramwica bamujyana muri Nyabarongo we n'umugore we witwa Bishumba.
Okay, so that night on October 11, 1990, so after they left him and his sister, and they said they were going to come back the following day to get them. The other house was a Tutsi old man amazina yitwaga nde?
Bishumba.
His name was Bishumba. So Bishumba did not leave his house. So he stayed in his house, him and his wife. So when they got to his house, they killed him and his wife, and then they threw their body in Nyabarongo, so in a river called Nyabarongo.
Yes. Noneho ubwo twebwe twagumye mu bwoba tuzi yuko buri buke baza kudutwara tuguma aho ngaho.
So him and his sister now were afraid because they found out that they killed the old man and his wife. So they were waiting, scared, because they knew that they were coming back the following day to kill them.
Uwo musaza yakomeje kudufata neza, aratugaburira, aratubwira ati muhumure ejo nzabinginga ntacyo bazabatwara. Noneho turasinzira twizera yuko nta kibazo.
So the old man who was hosting them was trying to comfort them and say, don't worry, up tomorrow when they come, I'm going to beg them for your life. They won't take you. So he tried to comfort them and they tried to go to sleep.
Ubwo iryo joro riracya ntihagira ugaruka, bukeye tuguma mu nzu badukingiranye uwo musaza kugira ngo tudasohoka, hakagira abandi batambuka bajya kwica bakatubona.
So from the following day, the old man, the one who was hosting and hiding them, he told them not to leave the house, and so that in case they are out, they will remember them and come back for them. So they stayed in the house and they did not leave the house the whole day.
Ubwo umunsi wakurikiyeho ku manywa wari umunsi wo gukora, bawitaga gukora, icyo gihe babyitaga gukora. Bamanukanye undi mugabo duturanye witwa Ngarambe.
So at the time of the killing in 1990, they called it the work. They were working. So killing was a kind of job for them. So the following day, it was the day of work. So they took another person called Ngarambe, who was also their neighbor, and they took him down to kill him, to work, to kill him.
Kubera yuko aho twari turi hari hegereye umuhanda, bamucocaguriye mu muhanda tubirebera mu idirishya, kubera ko hari ku manywa turabibona turebera mu idirishya, twari dufite ubwoba ko natwe bari buze bakadutwara nyine nkuko bari babivuze.
So because it was on bright day, and they cut him to pieces on the road, off the road, him and his sister saw it because they were standing by the window watching this man Ngarambe being cut to pieces, and they were waiting for their turn to be brought, to come and be taken out to be cut to pieces too.
Ubwo wari wo munsi wanjye w'icyo gihe, nibwo bwa mbere nari mbonye umuntu wapfuye kuko baramuhondaguye bamusiga aho ngaho, ariko bigeze nimugoroba nawe baraza baramutwara umurambo bawujyana muri Nyabarongo.
So this was his first time to actually see a dead body, like a body that is cut to pieces, because they cut him to pieces with machete, and they left his body on the road, and then in the evening some people came to take the body and they threw him in the river, Nyabarongo's river.
Ubwo twagumye aho ngaho kuwa gatanu haragera, kuwa gatandatu hageze haba ikintu bitaga ihumure.
So they stayed in the house on Thursday, Friday, and then on Saturday there was an event called Ihumure. Is what? Comforting?
Ihumure, comfort, yes, a small time of peace in period.
So they killed on Thursday,
break.
Friday, and then there was a break on Saturday. So they rested on the Sabbath. It's ironic, but they did this on the Sabbath.
Icyo gihe rero nibwo iwacu bo bari bageze mu Ngororero kuri centre ya Ngororero.
So his parent and his three siblings were at a place called Ngororero Centre de Ngororero Center. So Ngororero Center. Ubwo nibwo bohereje abantu, bohereje umugabo wari inshuti ya papa nanone aza kudutwara, ni papa wamwohereje aza kudutwara ngo adushyire abandi mu Ngororero. So, so that Saturday, his father sent a person, one of his friends who was Hutu, to come and take him and his sister to go and be with his siblings and his parents at the Ngororero Center.
ubwo twageze iruhande rw'ababyeyi rwari urugendo rutoroshye kuko twagendaga dukwepa aho ahari za bariyeri bashobora kuba bari bategereje abantu.
So it was not just a walk that was easy. They had to hide the barricade of the killers before they got to Ngororero Center. I want to reiterate that was not in 1994. This was October 1990, 4 years before the genocide started.
Yes. Hanyuma tugeze mu Ngororero rero dusanga abavandimwe bacu bose ntibagezeyo, hari abaguye mu nzira biciyeyo, batangira kutubwira uko byari bimeze.
So on their way to Ngororero Center, they were taught that there were some of their family relatives that were killed during the 3 days from October 11 to the time that they were to that Saturday. So from Wednesday to Saturday, there were some relatives that could not make it to the center. They were cut to pieces before they could get to the center.
No, hari hasigaye umuvandimwe wanje umwe ari kumwe nabo, babiri bari bapfuye, hanyuma batangira no kutubwira abandi bishwe, nuko batubwira uko byari bimeze.
Like in the beginning he mentioned that 3 of his siblings, his older siblings, went with his parents, and then him and his younger sister stayed with that old man. So 2 of his siblings were killed, and he was left with one of his older siblings and his sister. And also there were other relatives, direct relatives, that were also killed during those 3 days from Wednesday to Friday.
Muri abo ngabo mfite abo njya nibuka, harimo masenge tante wanje witwaga Kakuze n'umugabo we Rugaragu.
So
abo barapfuye icyo gihe.
So the people that were killed in the genocide of 1990, because these people were cut to pieces not in 1994, they were cut to pieces in 1990, October 1990. So from October 11, 1990 to October 13, 1990, these are the people that were killed in his family. His uncle and her husband,
Yes. Kakuze na Rugaragu.
Kakuze. So the name was Kakuze and Narugaragu.
Yego. N'abana babo batatu.
And their 3 children.
Kubera ko icyo gihe bakitaga igihe kigerageza, kubera ko bari kugerageza abantu twebwe iwacu barapfaga.
So that season was the preparation. It was a rehearsal for the genocide. I want to actually reiterate that Mr. Fidele is from the province of Habyarimana. So he was like how can I say? He was like the headquarters of the killers. So they were rehearsing what they would do in 1994. That was like they were premeditating the action of what they were going to do in 1994.
Nubwo batubwiye abantu bacu nyine bapfuye, abo kwa nyogokuru, ba mama yatakaje abavandimwe be babiri.
So they started talking about
na Suzana, abo barapfa.
Lost his uncles and the 3 children and the whole family. Then also on his grandmother's side, there was also grand aunts that died. So there were many people that lost their life in his family that were killed for those 3 days, 72 hours. He lost 2 of his siblings, his aunt and uncle, and all his cousins, his grand aunt and great uncles, his other cousins. So he lost a lot of people in 3 days, in 72 hours, in 1990.
Kandi icyo gihe ntiwashoboraga kubona imirambo kuko abo bicaga barakukumbaga bakajyana muri Nyabarongo.
So at that time there was nowhere to find the bodies because they will cut them to pieces and throw them in the river, in Nyabarongo's river.
ubu ngubu iyo tugiye kwibuka twebwe uko tubigenza tutwara indabo tukazijugunya muri Nyabarongo kuko abenshi bagiye icyo gihe nyine bagenda muri Nyabarongo.
So for them during the commemoration of the genocide, whenever they remember their loved one who were killed, they actually take because they have no bodies, so they take the flowers and they put them in the river because all of his siblings, his grandmother, his aunties, his uncle, they were all cut to pieces and thrown in the river. So they put the flower in the river to remember them.
Ubwo icyo gihe mu Ngororero twahamaze ibyumweru bitatu mu kwezi kwa 11 dusubira mu ngo z'iwacu.
So in that Ngororero center they stayed for 3 months before they could go back to their own house. So they stayed from October to mi-November. Oh, okay. So it was 1 month. How crazy?
Nyuma y'ukwezi urebye.
Okay, so they stayed in that center for a few weeks because they got there in October, mid-October, and they left end of November 1990.
Ubwo hagiyeho igihe twakwita icy'amahoro gikeya ariko ntabwo cyari cyoroshye, niyo mpamvu nifuje kukiganiraho nacyo igihe cyo muri 91 kugeza 93.
So after that event, those 73 hours, and actually over that because they kept on killing for over a month, that's why they stayed in Ngororero Center. Then so after they went back to their homes in November, end of November 1990, there were events, there were terrifying events that started in 1991, from 1991 to 1993. Now I want to remind our auditors that Mr. Fidele was from the province of Habyarimana. So the people there, they were rehearsing, so they were training themselves on how to exterminate the whole country. So they were doing things before 1994. So for whoever to this day is still thinking or still doubting or debating, Mr. Fidele is a genocide survivor of the genocide that started October 11, 1990.
Ubwo igihe cyakurikiyeho twaratashye tugeze mu rugo dusanga amazu bayasenye, ariko ubuyobozi butanga amabati kugira ngo bubake bundi bushyashya utuzu two kubamo aho twari turi aho twari dutuye.
So when they went back to their home a month after they stayed in Ngororero Center as refugees of the genocide of that time, they went back and they found that their house were destroyed by the killers. But then the government gave them some how do you say it? It's like they gave them tools to reconstruct, to rebuild their homes.
Ubwo icyo gihe rero twabayeho ku manywa twajyaga ku ishuri abana, ariko ijoro ryagera tukarara mu gihuru. Nibwo bwari ubuzima bwa buri munsi muri iyo myaka.
So from the time they left, they went back to their house, finding their house destroyed. Their lifestyle was as follow. In the morning, they will go to school, and at night they will sleep. Ibihuru is like what? The bush, the forest?
Twararaga hanze, twararaga mu bihuru. Mu bihuru ni ukuvuga ne bashes.
Hold on. I need to put
it's like a forest.
Yeah, they were so the forest, like right, Mr. Obistas is the forest, right?
Yeah, forest. Yeah, it needs the forest.
Like yes, like a forest.
So in the morning they were going to school, and then at night they were sleeping in the forest from November 1990 to 1993. Okay, so I want to remind my auditors the dates. they were living in the forest.
icyo gihe ndabyibuka ijoro rimwe twaraye mu gihuru, hanyuma akana k'iwacu gatoya karota kari kunyara ku buriri nuko yinyaraho, dukangutse dusanga turi mu gihuru nyine, ntabwo turi mu rugo. Ibyo ndabyibuka.
I'm sorry, but it's funny. So he said he remembers one of his nights in the forest. One of the boys, there was a boy in the forest with him.
The last one.
Oh, his sister. So his sister, so the youngest. So she dreamt that she was in bed and she peed on herself, right? So she had a dream that she was in bed, okay? Then she peed on herself. Then when she woke up, she really peed on herself, but it was not a bed. She was in the forest, so she was sleeping on the floor.
Hanyuma rero abuze icyo kwambara, papa aravuga ati reka nsubire mu rugo njye gushaka imyenda nibura uhindure. Agiye ahura nuko bari baje kudushaka, aca ku ruhande ntibabasha kumubona, akira gutyo.
Thank God. So then the father noticed that his sister had peed on herself. So he was like, you know what, let me go inside in the house and get some clothes for you. So when he was going in the house, the killers were coming to look for them in the house. So what happened? He ran. He avoided the killers and they didn't see him. And that's how he survived.
Kubera ko yari afite inshuti nyinshi rero z'abahutu zaramuburiraga buri gihe iyo bari buze kwica bafite gahunda yo kuza kwica, baramubwiraga icyo gihe tukajya mu gihuru.
Because he had many Hutu friends that were nice. Like I said, not every Hutu person is bad. So he had Hutu friends that were not killers. So they will let him know when the killers will come to kill. So they will hide in the forest.
Ibyo nibyo twabayeho, imyaka iragenda iba hafi 3 kuri 25 z'ukwa mbere 1993.
So they live like this, that lifestyle, from going to school in the morning, sleeping in the forest at night, hiding for their life and all that for 3 years. And then on January 25th, 1993, something happened.
Le 25 janvier 1993,
on January 25th, 1993,
habaye imyigaragambyo ikomeye y'interahamwe n'impuzamugambi.
How do you translate that, Mr. or Mr. I need you.
Ce sont les miliciens
des interahamwe et des impuzamugambi de CDR.
Et puis les miliciens de l'autre parti qui était pro parti du pouvoir, qui était CDR. Donc ils se sont mis ensemble pour se manifester.
Okay, so there were two parties. There were two political parties. There was one that was called
extremist.
There were two extremists. Okay, so there were two extremist parties. One was called CDR, and the other one was called what?
MRND.
Okay, so there were two extremist parties, MRND and CDR. And on January 25th, 1993, they merged into one party, one extremist party. So they became one.
Yes. It's also.
Bagize rero manifestation, kandi iyo manifestation ngo bashakaga gutsembatsemba inyenzi, niko batwitaga.
So the unity was for a goal. The goal of the unity was to crush the cockroaches, which are the Tutsis. gutsembatsemba bivuze iki mu Kinyarwanda?
Extermine.
Oh my God, no, that was not crush. Their goal was to exterminate the Tutsis, which they call the cockroaches. So they actually merged into one party to be able to exterminate. Now their goal was to destroy the whole Tutsis. That was January 25th, 1993. January 25th,
Yes.
1993, a year before they started doing what they had planned to do on April 7, 1994. I want people to hear the date so that they understand, because I have many genocide deniers that follow me. Please know the date. January 25th, 1993.
Icyo gihe za nshuti za papa zaramuburiye n'abavandimwe be, noneho rero tuzinduka duhungira Igitarama muri komine Nyakabanda.
That day when they heard about the news of the merging of MDR and CDR, his Hutu friends, his father had good and well-intentioned Hutu friends. They actually helped them to leave their home and run to hide in a place called Gitarama.
Ubwo twagiye muri komine Nyakabanda, niho batwakiriye burugumesitiri wa komine Nyakabanda, byari bo nta kibazo bari bafite.
So they went to a county called Nyakabanda, and the mayor of that county, or the head of that county, actually welcomed them because he was not a genocide perpetrator, so he was not an extremist, so he welcomed them.
Bamaze kutwakira batujyana mu kigo cy'umupadiri witwa Buruge, araducumbikira, tuhasanga izindi mpunzi zigeze muri 300 zose zavuye ku Gisenyi.
So they took them into a parish of a priest called Burgess. Yari umuzungu.
Buruge yari umuzungu.
Bourgeois, okay. It was a French priest called Bourgeois. C'est French, yeah, Bourgeois. So he was French, and he had a parish. And when him and his father and mother and his sister and his other sibling, yari umuhungu cyangwa umukobwa, your older sibling.
Yari umuhungu.
So his older brother and his younger sister. So it was him, his older brother, his younger sister, and his 2 parents. When they got to the parish, they found out that there were more than 300 Tutsis that were hiding in that parish, and they were all coming from Gisenyi. Again, I'm repeating, Gisenyi was the province of Habyarimana. It was the place where Habyarimana was coming from.
Ubwo aho twahamaze uwo mwaka wose, kubera ko abana barongeye bariga, abaturage baho nta kibara, abana beza.
So from
January
25th, so they stayed in Gitarama. They stayed in that place for a whole year, and they went to school because the people in that place were not killers. They were not genocide perpetrators. They were not extremists. So they could go to school. They were just, living I won't say normal life, because they were still refugees, but they were doing the usual life.
Ubwo muri icyo kigo twahamaze amezi 6, hari haraje amahoro ku Gisenyi.
So in that parish, they stayed there for 6 months, and then after 6 months, they heard that there were peace in Gisenyi, so they decided to go back to their homeland, their hometown.
Oya, ntabwo twasubiye mu rugo, ahubwo abo hakurya baje kuducyura, baje kusaba yuko dutaha, kubera ko twari benshi.
Okay, so because there were over 300 refugees, Tutsi refugees in the parish, after six months after there were peace in Gisenyi. So there were people that came to that Gitarama, that county, and told them to come back because they were peace and they should go back to their hometown.
ubwo ngubwo ari abantu benshi bari barasenyewe amazu, ariko abari bagifite amazu ahagaze abagera ku 150 bemeye gutaha.
So they actually now said, okay, whoever still has their house that is not destroyed, they will be going back to their home because there was peace. And over 150 Tutsis, they accepted to go back to their home and leaving the parish.
Ngewe n'umuryango wanjye tuguma aho ngaho kubera ko inzu yacu yari yarasenywe neza kugera kuri fondasiyo nta cyari gisigaye.
So him and his family stayed because their house was destroyed to the ground.
Ariko Genocide nyirizinije babandi 150 bose batashye nta numwe wabayeho, bose barapfuye.
So during the genocide of 1994, all the 150 families that left the parish 6 months after that event, they were all killed. There was no survivor outside of that.
Ubwo ukwezi kwa kane, ukwezi kwa avril 1994 yadusanze aho inyakabanda.
So him and his family stayed in that parish. So from January 25th, 1993 until the genocide happened, they were in that refugee camp. They did not leave. That's how they survived.
Niyo mpamvu igice gikurikiyeho ngiye kubabwira avril mai 1994 Genocide nyirizina ibayeho uko byagenze.
So now the next part that he's going to share is the events of April 1994. So now he talked about how he got to the how he got to that parish, the Kabyai center with that white priest. So now he stayed there from January 25th, 1993 until April 1994. Now he's going to share what happened to him and his family in the event of the genocide against Tutsis of 1994 that officially started on April 7, 1994.
Ubwo mu kwezi kwa kane twari mu kiruhuko, noneho
so as students they were on holidays on April 1994.
Yes. Mama araza arambwira ati jya gufata umuvandimwe wawe, hari aho yari yaragiye mu baturage b'inyakabanda, jya gufata umuvandimwe wawe ugukurikira mujye gusura abantu inyakabanda, abantu muri Kibirira bari barasigaye.
So his mother told him, take your younger sister and go to visit this family. They had a family friends that had survived the genocide who was in another small town. So they went to visit because they were on holiday. So they went to visit that family, him and his younger sister.
Noneho icyo gihe ndikinira nanga kujyayo, hari kuwa gatatu.
So when his mother told him to take his sister to go visit that family, he played around. He didn't go. That was a Wednesday.
Noneho ndamwinginga ngo nambabarire nzajyeyo ejo mu gitondo rwose ndazinduka tujye kubasura hanyuma tuzagaruka ibiruhuko birangiye.
So he told his mom, please allow me to rest. I'm tired. I'm going to go tomorrow on Thursday morning. I'm going to wake up early in the morning and I'll take my sister to go visit that family and we will stay there throughout the holidays.
Hanyuma nzindutse rero ngo njyeyo numva kuri radio hariho ibintu bisamira. Radio itavuga neza.
When he woke up early that morning on April 7, 1994, he listened to the radio, and he actually heard something that was terrifying.
ndiruka njya ku cyumba cya mama aho yararaga ndakomanga ndamubwira ngo hari itangazo riri guca kuri radiyo rivuga ngo perezida yapfuye ntibari kuvuga ko nta muntu uva mu rugo.
So he ran to his parents' room and he said, "Mom, there is an announcement that says that the president was killed. He died, and they're asking everybody to stay in their house and not leave."
noneho ndamubaza nti none se ubu ngubu ndagenda nanone gusura ba bantu, arambwira toya ahubwo ararira.
So when then he asked his mother, "So am I going to go, me and my sister, to go visit that family?" And then the mother said no, and she started crying.
ndamubaza nti none se kubera iki urira?
Then he asked his mother, he said, "Why are you crying?"
arambwira ati turapfuye turashize, iyo perezida apfuye abatutsi barashira, mu Rwanda nuko bimeze.
The mother said, "We are dead, we are finished. When the president died in Rwanda, all Tutsis are killed. That's how it is."
mbona abantu bose bari kurira, mbona abantu bacitse ururondogoro babuze ibyo bavuga, bafite ubwoba kuko baravugaga bati birongeye biragarutse.
Everybody was crying. He started seeing the adults were crying, and they were saying, "Oh, the things that had happened before are coming back."
noneho rero ubwo inzira y'umusaraba biratangiye, ba bandi badukundaga bo hanze bari batangiye kuza gushinga amacumu ku kigo hanze bavuga ngo nidusohoke batwice.
So the walk of the cross started when he started hearing the killers banging outside and telling them to come out so that they can kill them.
tugeze mu 150 bagateka ariko ntihagire urya kuko bari bazi yuko uyu munsi cyangwa ejo tuzapfa tugashira.
So nobody was eating, nobody was cooking, because everybody was waiting, because they knew that either today or tomorrow they will come for us and all of us will be killed.
ubwo cyakurikiyeho iminsi yari isunitse igeze kuri 3 tubona burugumestre araje ati nje gukoresha inama impunzi.
So after 3 days, after the president Habyarimana's was killed, whatever, or died or whatsoever, after he died, after the announcement, 3 days after that event, they came, the mayor of that area came and said, "I want to have a meeting with the refugees that are in that parish."
uwo mu burugumestre yari umwana mwiza, yaraje aravuga ati ndabagira nte ko mwavuye ku Gisenyi nkabakira, none mungira inama namwe icyo ndi bukore, ndabigenza gute?
So that mayor was a very kind man. He was worried. He said, what am I going to do? I welcomed you because you were running for your life from Gisenyi, but right now I don't know. Give me an advice on how I can protect you from being killed.
ubwo yatwaye perezida w'impunzi n'abandi bantu bakuru baragenda bariherera ngo bafate icyemezo cy'ikigomba gukorwa.
So he took the head of the refugees and the president, the person who was representing the refugees, to go to do a strategic meeting to see what they can do in order to protect the refugees that were in that place.
ubwo impunzi icyavuyemo nuko zasabye yuko burugumesitiri yaziyicira aho kugira ngo azisubize ku Gisenyi.
Can you repeat?
Impunzi zasabye ko burugumesitiri yaziyicira akazirasa aho kugira ngo zisubire ku Gisenyi aho zizicishwa ibisongo.
So the president of the refugees and the representative of the refugees, they decided, they asked the mayor to actually kill the refugees instead of sending them back to Gisenyi to be cut to pieces, to shoot them so they can die.
Burugumesitiri byaramuyobeye afata imodoka n'abajandarume arataha.
The mayor was speechless, and he left the refugees, and he went back.
Umunsi ukurikiyeho agaruka gukora inama nanone azanye n'uwari uhagarariye cya kigo kuko umuzungu yari yataye.
So the following day he came, he wants to mention that priest, the French priest that was the owner of the parish, he was no longer in Rwanda, he was back in France. So now the parish, the refugee had they had a representative. They had somebody that were representing all the refugees that were in the parish. They were hiding in the parish. So the following day, the mayor came back to talk to that person.
Yaraje aza yafashe icyemezo ati ubwo ari mwe mwabyiyemereye ari namwe mwabisabye murabisinyira, noneho ejo hari kuwa kane, ejo kuwa kane nzaza icyifuzo cyanyu tugikore, nzazana abajandarume tubarase birangire aho kugira ngo tubasubize iwanyu.
So he came and he told the refugee representative, he said, upon request, you requested us not to send you back to Gisenyi, but to shoot you instead. So since you asked that, tomorrow I'm going to come back with the officers, and we are going to shoot you all, so that we don't have to send you back to Gisenyi, so that you are not cut to pieces instead.
Ubwo hari sene ntazibagirwa kubera ko umunsi wakurikiyeho hari nyine kuwa kane nibwo badushyize ahantu mu kibuga twese burugumesitiri nyine na yazanye abajandarume n'ihirigisi yitukura ndayibuka biteguye gukora ako kazi.
So there is a scene he will never forget in his life. On that day, the following day, on a Thursday morning, they came and they took them in a stadium, in a very big stadium, because there were many refugees. So they put them in a refugees in a stadium. Sorry, not refugee stadium, but in a stadium, and they were surrounded by officers with guns that were ready to shoot them.
Ubwo barategereza hari mu masaa yine, mama wacu yaraduhagaze hejuru adutwikira ibitenge ngo tutabibona, noneho kubera twari turi muri cya kigera abana baba bafite amatsiko tukajya dutwikurura ibitenge tukareba uko
So the mother, before they started shooting, the mother actually covered. She put a covering on themselves, him and his sister, so that they couldn't see what was going to happen, the shooting. But because they were curious, like children, they decided to just like remove the covering to see what was happening.
Nuko burugumesitiri araza n'abo bajandarume bategereza wa wundi wari uhagarariye nyir'ikigo kugira ngo aze asinye, ariko uwo munsi baramuhamagara baramubura ntiyigera aza.
So as they were as the refugees were standing, getting ready to be shot, before they started the shooting. They were waiting for the the head of the refugee to come and sign the request that he had made, so that they can start the killing, the shooting. But they waited for him and they couldn't find him.
bigeze saa tanu bamuhamagaye bamubuze, burugumesitiri ararakara, nanone abwira abajandarume be ati nimwurire imodoka tugende.
So when it got to 11 a.m., they were still waiting for the representative, the representative, the one who had told the mayor that was the wishes of all the refugees. So when he couldn't be found, the mayor got mad, and he got into his car and he asked the officers to come with him and leave, so they didn't kill the people. Thank you, Jesus.
Uwo munsi nabwo ntitwapfa, turawurokoka, dushima
So
Imana.
that day they survived because the head of the refugees was nowhere to be found, so he could sign the request.
Ubwo icyo gihe abantu bashatse uburyo bajya basimbuka ikigo kugira ngo barebe ko bahunga.
So from that day, the refugees now were trying to find a way to escape the parish, because they knew that they were gonna come back on that Friday to kill them. They had survived a day, but they knew they were gonna come back.
Umunsi umwe umugabo witwa Munyabarame aragenda, ndamukurikira.
So one day somebody called Munyamarame.
Umugabo witwa Munyabarame.
Munyamarame. Somebody, there was an adult that he decided to follow, and that adult, he decided to escape, and he decided to follow that adult.
Nanjye ndamukurikira ngo mukurikire duhunge batatwica, ariko akoresha ikiganza agira gutya ati subirayo, subira inyuma.
So he was trying to follow that adult to try to escape with him, but then when the adult saw him, he's like, go back, don't come with me.
Ndahagarara ndamwihorera, arasimbuka ikigo, ageze hanze numva isasu riravuze, ubwo nibwo yapfuye, ntiyagarutse, nta nuza amaherezo ye.
So when he jumped the wall to try to escape, as soon as he jumped, Fidele heard shooting, like there was shotguns, and then that's where they killed him, and he's never seen that person again.
Nuko ndagaruka, mama arambaza ati wari wagiye he, ndamubwira ngo nari nkurikiye Munyabarame, arambwira ati ntuzongere kumva iruhande.
So he went back to his parents, and then his mom was like, where were you? And he said, I was trying to follow this man to escape. And then the mother said, don't ever leave my sight.
Nuko dutegereza amaherezo yacu, twari tutaramenya uko bizagenda.
So now they were waiting for themselves to be killed, because they did not know what was going to happen. They could not leave the place. They were just stuck in that place waiting for them, for the killers either to come, or for the mayor to bring his people to shoot them.
Ubwo icyumweru kiragenda kirashira, kuwa kane hageze tubona burugumesitiri araje.
So a week later, 7 days later, so on the Thursday after, the mayor came back again.
Ubwo twari mu matariki le 24 avril 1994.
So it was April 24th, 1994.
Araza aratubwira ati mwitegure, ejo nzabajyana i Kabgayi.
He said to them, get ready, tomorrow I'm going to come and take you to Kabgayi.
Ariko ibyo ntitwabyemeraga, twari tuzi yuko atujyanye ku Gisenyi.
So at that point, when he came and told them that he was taking them to Kabgayi, the people, the refugees, actually did not believe him. They were convinced that he was going to take them to Gisenyi.
Ubwo icyo gihe hagati aho abo mu Ngororero bo bari barashize, bari barabatwitse, babatwitse muri icyo gihe twari turi aho dutegereje natwe.
So in Gororero, the place where they were, the Tutsis that were not in that parish, they were burnt alive in their houses. So they had started burning the houses with people inside.
Noneho bwarakeye kuri 24 burugumesitiri araza adushyira mu mamodoka bamadayihatsu 3 y'icyo kigo adutwara i Kabgayi.
So on the 25th of April, just like he said, the following day, that Friday, he came with cars, with transportation cars that belonged to that parish. It was like buses, and all of the people, all of the refugees that were in that parish, they got inside the cars, and then he took them to Kabgayi, not Gisenyi, but Kabgayi.
Kabgayi, igitarama mu mujyi. Kabgayi.
Okay. It was a town.
Voilà. Aratujyana agiye kutugeza i Kabgayi, ageze kuri bariyeri abasirikare baramuhagarika ngo izo nyenzu zijyanye.
So on their way to Kabgayi, they found the barricades, and the killers were like, "Where are you taking these cockroaches?"
Noneho rero bamukubita urushyi imbere yacu twese tureba. Baramubwira ngo
they slapped the mayor in front of all of the refugees.
Baramubwira ngo shyira hariya mu ishyamba ibyabo turi bubimenye nyuma.
Nago nabyumvise neza, bamushize mu ishyamba.
Abasirikare baramubwiye ngo izo nyenzi zishyire hariya mu ishyamba turaza ibyazo kubikemura nyuma.
Okay, so they told babwiye mayor cyangwa
babwiye mayor.
Okay, so remember the mayor's purpose was to find a way to rescue the refugees, so take them to another town. But then they slapped him, and then they say, take these cockroaches in this bush and we will deal with them later.
Ubwo tujyaho mu ishyamba hanyuma ariko aratubwira ati dore murabonye ko bankubise, ushobora kugera i Kabgayi mwiyeranje munyura inzira zo mu bihuru mugere i Kabgayi.
So as he was walking them or taking them to the bushes, he told the refugees, the mayor told the refugees, he said, you just watch and witness that they slapped me. So whoever can, please run, go through the bushes and the forest and go to Kabgayi, and that's where you will be safe.
Yatubwiraga ko umuntu ugeze i Kabgayi rwose ari bube yakize nta kibazo.
And he said, if you get to Kabgayi, you will be safe and you will survive this.
Nuko iryo joro nibwo karumuna kanjye gato gashiki kanjye gato katakaye turakabura kuko hari ikivunge cy'abantu.
So that very night, his younger sister was lost because there were so many refugees, and there were in masses in that forest, in that bush, and they could not find her, so she was lost.
Ubwo njyana na mama tugera i Kabgayi turi babiri.
So now they divided themselves, and he went with his mom, and they got to Kabgayi, only the two of them. Remember, in the refuge, in the parish, it was him, his younger sister, his older brother, because two of his siblings were killed in 1990. So it was now him, his older brother, his younger sister, and his parents. But now when they got to the bushes, they all splitted, and he went with his mom, and they survived. They got to Kabgayi, but his dad and his sister were not in Kabgayi.
Ubwo bose bari batagaranye nta muntu twabonaga, ninjye wari usigaranye na mama twenyine.
So when they got to Kabgayi, they were the only two survivors of that at that point. We did not know what had happened to his father and what had happened to his sister and his other brother.
Ubwo imvura yaragwaga, hanyuma baratubwira bati ubuhungiro bwashize ni mu Gishyogwe.
So there was so much rain during that time.
imvura yaragwaga.
The rain was falling during that time because it was a rainy season, and they told them when they got to Kabyai, they said to go to another
Ishyogwe.
so to go to Ishogwe, to another place.
Ishyogwe ni the Protestant diocese ituranye na Kabgayi.
Oh, so it's not a
diocese.
parish, but it's like a born again or Pentecostal church that was close to Kabgayi.
Hari ikigo cy'amashuri, nuko tugerayo tuharara ijoro rimwe.
So there was a school close to that place, and they spent the night.
Tuhasanga abantu nabo bahondaguwe, batemaguye, turarana na biryo joro. Bukeye tugaruka i Kabgayi.
There were people that were already cut to pieces because they had run in that place to hide, and they found them, so they were cut to pieces. So they slept with those dead bodies, and then the following day they continued the journey.
Umupasiteri yaratubwiye ati barampamagaye barambwira ngo izo mpunzi ni Kabgayi kugira ngo bajye kuzirindirayo.
So the pastor of that school, who was in that school, he told the people, he said the killers are actually now waiting for the survivors that they could not kill to reach Kabgayi so that they can actually kill them.
I Kabgayi twarahagarutse, hari abantu benshi cyane, hari huzuye koko.
They went back to Kabgayi and they found more refugees, more numbers than the numbers that they had left prior.
Ubwo abafurere bemera gufungura ikigo cyabo cyitwa Saint Joseph.
So some priests decided to open the parish called Saint Joseph. The school called. It was a school, so they agreed to open the school called Saint Joseph.
Aho niho twinjiye, noneho turahaba dutegereza uko bizagenda n'ubundi.
So that's where in Saint Joseph, that's where him and his mom, they got in and they stayed there waiting to see what will happen next.
Nyuma y'iminsi mike twagiye tubona papa araje ari wenyine ariko.
So few days later his father came, but he was not with his sister or his older brother. He was alone.
Noneho rero ahageze tubaho ngaho, ariko hari inzara, hari inyota, nta kintu cyo kurya cyari gihari.
So they stayed in Saint Joseph, him and his dad and his mom, with the other refugees, but there was no food, there was no water, so it was really scarcity. So they didn't have anything.
Icyo kigo aho hani Kabgayi hari abasirikare benshi, abo ngabo nibo bicaga abantu ku manywa y'ihangu.
So in Kabgayi there were many soldiers, and they were the one who were killing people in the morning.
Noneho kubera ko njyewe nari ntaragira imyaka yo kugira indangamuntu, abantu batinyaga gusohoka kuko wasohokaga ntiyagarukaga.
So because he was still young to own an ID, around an ID, because during that time under Habyarimana's administration, on your ID they will put you if either you are Tutsi or Hutu or Twa, but because he did not have an ID because he was still young, nobody in that place, in Saint Joseph where he was with the other refugees, nobody would leave. No adult would leave, because when they leave, they would never come back because the killers were waiting for them outside. So, but him, he could go
Njyewe
out
rero
because he didn't have an ID and he was a young boy.
njyewe rero bashoboraga kuntuma nkajya n'igitarama mvuye i Kabgayi nkajya ku isoko nkagura ngahaha utuntu two kurya
because he
nkagaruka.
was young, they would send him. He was the one who would go outside, and he would go even to Gitarama. He will go and he will shop the food, get water, and he will come back to Saint Joseph.
Ubwo ndabyibuka mama yampaye 200 njya kugura isambusa.
So he remembers his mother sent him outside and gave him 200 Rwandan francs to go out and get his sambusa.
Naguraga isambusa za 200 nkaza nkazidandaza nkakuramo 250.
Then he will go and buy samosa for $200 and 200 Rwandan francs, and then he will come in the house and he will cut them into 250 slices so that everybody can have a piece.
Noneho rero bugacya nkasubirayo nkongera nkabigenza gutyo. Ubwo nuko nguko twabonaga ikintu cyo kurya.
Go get the food, come back and divide it in 250, and then he will give it to the refugees, and then the following day he will go again and get the food.
Ariko buri gihe uko nsohotse ngahura n'abantu baje gutwara abantu bo kujya kwica.
Every time he will go out to go shop, he will find the killers coming to get some people to go out and kill. So every time he will leave that Saint Joseph, he will leave knowing that he might actually not found his family again.
Amamodoka yarazaga agapakira agatwara abantu bakagenda ntibagaruke.
So there were big cars that would come and take some refugees in that place and take them, and they would never come back.
Bakaza bakabwira umuntu ngo wowe ngwino bamara kuzuza bus bakagenda.
So they would come and choose some people and say, you come. They take them in the bus and they will go and never come back.
Ndibuka umunsi umwe ubwo nari nicaye mu kibuga ndi gucuruza isambusa zanjye.
He remembers one day when he was in the Saint Joseph trying to sell some food to the refugees.
Baraje babwira umuntu uri iburyo bwanjye ngo haguruka ukurikira abandi.
They came and they told the person who was sitting next to him to come and follow them.
Baransimbuka bafata undi nkurikiye bati nawe kurikira abandi.
They jumped him and they asked that person next to him to come and follow them. So they were lined up, and they took the person on the left, the person on the right, but they jumped him.
Barabatwara hanyuma umwe muri bo yanga kugenda ati ndabizi n'ubundi ngiye gupfa nimunyicire hano.
So one of the people refused to go. He said, I know I'm going to die. Just kill me here.
Ntabwo bakinnye baramurashe koko aratumbagira yikubita hasi amaraso ye yuzura aho hose bashiki be baza kuyoza bari yarakibafite.
When he said that, they did not even bother. They took out a gun and shot him. He fell and his blood filled the floor, and his sisters came and cleaned the place and took his body.
Nuko iyo nkuru nayo ntizamva mu mutwe ndayibona wagira ngo ni nk'ejo nta kundi.
He says he will never forget that image because that image is still in his mind for the rest of his life.
Ubwo na mama wanjye baraje baramubwira bati baramutwara.
They came and they also took his mother.
Bamutwaye ndamukurikira ntiturajyana.
sorry, I need a break. They took his mother, and when they took his mother, he said he's going to go with his mother. He's not going to let his mother go alone.
hanyuma arambwira ati winkurikira icara aho ngaho.
His mother said, don't follow me, please sit down.
Nuko nicara aho ngaho, ubwo yaragiye ntiyagarutse.
So he obeyed and sat down. She left and never came back.
Nibwo buzima twari tubayeho.
That was the life that they were living.
Ubwo nyuma yaho nakomeje kujya nsohoka gutyo n'ubundi ngiye gushaka ibintu utuntu two kurucuruza ngo turye, kuko twari tuzi yuko anytime baza bagatwara abantu uko bashaka nyine.
So his lifestyle was to go out, get some food, come and sell it so that they can survive. So and wait for the time that they will come and choose him to also go and be killed. So that was his life. He was just living a life of just waiting for his turn to happen.
Hari n'umuntu w'iwacu twari twarahahuriye witwaga Masumbuku, na hanyuma baza kubatwara nabo.
There was also another relative who was in the same place called Masumbu. They also came and took him.
Yari muremure cyane, ariko iyo bazaga kubatwara twamuramburagaho matora tukamwicaraho.
He was very tall, so anytime they will come and look for people to take, they will hide him. So he will pretend to sit, to be on the ground, and then the little kids would sit on him so that they would not choose him, because he was a very tall boy.
Bakagira ngo ni matora twicayeho.
And they will think it's like a mattress that they are sitting on, but he was him, because that's how they were hiding him, because he was very tall. And one of the features of Tutsis is their height. So to protect that person, they will make him lay down, and then the kids will sit on him and pretend that he's a mattress. So the killers couldn't hide.
Kubera ko yakundaga itabi, yaratubwiye ati mube muretse ngiye kunywa agatabi.
And because he liked to smoke, one day he was like, you know what, wait a minute, I need to smoke. So he decided to go and smoke, and then the killer came.
Noneho abicanyi baraza, barangije barashakisha, baba bamuguyeho, bamusohora bamukoreje amaboko, nawe yagiye gutyo ntiyagarutse.
So when they came, he couldn't hide anymore because they saw him and he was tall, so he couldn't hide. So they took him and they asked him to surrender with his head on the head, and then that was the last time he saw him.
Ibyo byose narabyanditse mu gitabo cyanjye, biragaragara mu gitabo nabishyizemo izo nkuru. Hari n'abandi benshi nagiye mvuga.
He wrote everything, all these details and all the names of the people that he remembered in his book.
Igice cya nyuma ngezeho ni igice nanditse cyo kuva ku itariki le 2 juin 1994.
The fourth part of his book is the event that happened from June 2nd, 1994.
Uwo munsi narasohotse nk'uko bisanzwe nari nsanzwe mbikora.
So that day looked usual as normal. He came out to go and shop for his sambusa to come back and sell to the refugees.
Ariko ngeze hanze nsanga ya bariyeri nta muntu ukiyiriho.
When he went I'm sorry. When he went outside of when he went outside to go do his shopping, he realized that the barricade of the killers was no longer there. There was nobody in that barricade. Normally there will be killers at the barricade, but on June 2nd there was nobody. So it wasn't usual. It was not usual to not find the killers on the barricade.
Hari mu masaa 3, noneho mbonye nta muntu uri mu muhanda, ndakomeza ndatembera ngo ndebe n'ahandi ukuntu hameze.
So it was around 9. So he decided to just, since there were no killers, he decided to just walk around and see if there are still killers are on the road. So he decided to walk around and look if the same the same there were no killer at all everywhere.
Noneho ngeze hepfo ngiye kubona mbona umusirikare araje arambwira ngo nindyame hasi ngo batandase.
So as he was walking on the road, he saw a soldier who told him, lay down on the ground so that we don't shoot you. No, so that they don't shoot you, or so that he doesn't shoot you.
Ryama hasi batakurasa. Nuko yavuze.
So the soldier said, lay on the ground so that they don't shoot you.
Ariko uwo musirikare namureba nkabona ntabwo yambaye nk'abandi nabonaga.
So the soldier that he saw, the soldier who told him to lay down so that the people don't shoot him, he was not dressed the same way as the killers. He didn't look the same as the people that were normally at the barricade and coming to take people to be killed.
Yari akenyeye igitenge, yambaye na supresse, inkweto za supresse, mu gihe abandi bari bambaye uniforme yuzuye.
Yarambaye igitenge. Igitenge is what? Like
Lapagne.
Lapagne Monsieur,
oui. Vous voyez la pagne que les femmes utilisent pour s'habiller.
Oh, okay. So it was. Wow. So he was not wearing like uniforms like the killers. Yes. He was wearing like African outfits, African prints.
Yes, like African woman.
Okay, so he was a casual person. He was not dressed as a soldier.
Yes. Yeah. Noneho arangiza arambwira ati kuko amasasu yaravugaga nari ntarayumva avuga cyane ari menshi, ariko yavugaga buhoro. Arambwira ati genda uryamye ugende buhoro buhoro ukambakamba mpaka ugeze mu kigo uturutsemo.
So that man told him, he said, go crawling, crawl back to where you came from. Don't stand because you'll be shot. Go back where you came from the place, from Saint Joseph.
Uwo musirikare yari uw'inkotanyi.
That soldier was a soldier of the RPF, the Rwandan Patriotic Front.
Ubwo mu kanya gato nko mu masaa 5 bahageze ari benshi barwana birukana babandi bicaga abantu, barangije baraduhumuriza baratubwira bati nimuhumure ntimugipfuye.
So few hours later the RPF army came to fight the killers that were in that place, and they secured the city. The town, not the city, the town where they were, and then they came to Saint Joseph to tell the people that had survived, that were no longer killed, to tell them, don't worry, you are safe now. The killers will not come back to kill you.
Nuko abantu barabyina bashima Imana kubera yuko bari bumva bakize nta muntu wongera kubica.
So as soon as the RPF came to tell the people that they don't have to worry anymore or wait to be killed, people started rejoicing and dancing and thanking God that finally they don't have to be killed.
Nuko dukira gutyo kuri iyo tariki itazibagirana mu mateka y'ubuzima bwacu, nanjye ndimo ni itariki ikomeye mu buzima bwanjye.
On June 2nd, a date that they will never forget for the rest of their life, because the Rwandan Patriotic Front came to save them on June 2nd, 1994, from being killed by the killers that killed his mother and all the other people that were killed.
Ubwo ndokoka ndi kumwe na papa turi babiri twenyine.
So he survived with his father, only the two of them. So he, in the genocide from 1990 to 1994, in 1990 he lost his his two siblings and his aunties and grandparents and stuff. Then in 1994 he lost his other two siblings, so he was now left with, and his mother, so his two siblings and his mother. Now on June 2nd, only him and his father survived. So in a family of 7, only 2 survived.
ariko Imana ikora igitangaza. Uwa muvandimwe wanjye nari narabuze yabonetse mu 1995 umwe nari narabuze w'umuhungu mukuru.
Oh my God. So God did a
wa undi
miracle.
wari waratakaye.
Okay. God did a miracle. So remember, when they went to the forest to wait after the mayor was asked to take them to the bush, 2 of the kids actually they were lost. The oldest, the boy, was found in 1995. After the genocide, they found him, so he survived. So now he had his older brother and his dad. So they were no longer only 2 of them. So out of 7, 3 survived.
Cyari igitangaza.
It was a miracle.
Igice cya nyuma rero cy'ubuhamya ngiye kubaganiriza ukuntu niba ntatinze cyane.
So he said his last part of his testimony is he wants to talk about the aftermath of the genocide.
Nukuntu ubuzima bwarakomeje, noneho rero amashuri arakomeza, turiga bisanzwe. Papa shaka undi mugore.
Mwari muri Kabgayi, mwasubiye
Kabgayi ubwo twarahavuye dukomeza inzira igana mu Ruhango tujya mu Bugesera.
Oh, okay. So after June 2nd, 1994, mwavuye Saint Joseph ryari? Mwavuye June 2nd cyangwa mwaratinze?
June 2nd.
Okay,
June
so
2nd twarahavuye kubera ko
when the Rwandan Patriotic Front actually secured the place and made them safe, they left they left Saint Joseph and they went to another town called Bugesera. And then after that they started, yes, so they started, reconstructing, trying to put the pieces together. They started living, trying to build themselves up and trying to mourn their loved one, because he had lost his mother, his sister, his 2 siblings. Because at that time he did not know his other siblings had survived. So at that time he thought it was only him and his father. Then later on in 1995, the older one, the one that had that they thought was dead, they found him. So yeah, so he's going to talk about the aftermath of the genocide.
Voilà. Irangiye rero papa yashatse undi mugore, ubuzima burakomeza, nanjye nsubira mu ishuri. Urumva genocide yabaye narindi mu wa 6 primary, noneho nkomeza muri secondary school.
When he got in Bugesera, the father mourned his wife, got married again. The life, they tried to live again, and then he went back to school. So he was in primary school. He was on grade 6, I think. And then so he went back to school.
Ubwo secondary ndayirangiza, nyuma nza kwinjira mu seminari ngera no
So then he finished his high school, and then he decided to get into seminary to become a Catholic priest.
Noneho impamvu nagiye mu bupadiri icyo gihe, muribuka nababwiye ahantu bari bagiye kuturasa badutwikiye ngo turaswe dupfe. Nabwiye Imana nti nunkiza aha hantu nzaba padiri.
So the reason why he went to become to start his study to become a Catholic priest. When do you remember the memory of the stadium when they were all waiting to be shot? He prayed a prayer and he said to God, God, if you save me from this place and I survive this killing, I promise I'm going to be a priest.
ubwo nakomeje kubizirikana nibuka ko ari Imana yadukijije noneho rero njya mu iseminari.
So he believed that it was God who saved him for him and his father to survive. So he decided his father and his brother to survive. So he decided to go to keep his promises to God to go and become a Catholic priest.
Ariko igihe ubwo nabishakaga naribazaga nti ese birashoboka ko umuntu wanyuze muri biriya bintu yaba padiri koko?
So then, but as he was still trying to keep his vow to God to become a Catholic priest, he was also asking himself, can somebody who went and witnessed all this atrocity, can this person become a priest?
Ubwo nkumva buri gihe mfite ipfunwe ryo gutinyuka kuvuga ibyo nanyuzemo.
And he had this fear and this like ifunwe ni fear.
Ni fear cyangwa ni fear kuko numvaga bishobora kumbuza.
Yeah, so he had this fear to talk about what he witnessed while he was surviving the genocide. So as he was trying to study to become a priest, he had this fear to share his testimony.
Ndakomeza ariko mbona ndize ndabishobora. Hanyuma hari ikintu kimwe cyabayeho ndi mu iseminari kuko nari ndi umumisiyoneri tubana n'abazungu baturuka i Burayi.
So he kept on pushing himself. He went to school to become a Catholic priest, and now he recalls an event that happened because he was in a seminary, like a school of priests, and that school of priests was led by white priests.
Noneho rero umunsi umwe bari bambwiye ngo tujye muri gahunda yo kwibuka ndi kumwe n'undi mugenzi wanjye.
So one day the white priest, they had an event to remember, like a kwibuka. So there was an event of kwibuka in that parish, and they wanted to incite the priests that were there to share their story.
Ngeze muri communauté ndimo mbasangiza ibyabaye, umupadiri akubita ku meza ati je ne veux plus écouter ces choses.
When he got to share his side, when he was about to talk about himself, yari umuzungu.
Alo?
Uwo mupadiri yari umuzungu.
Yari umunyaburayi.
Okay, so
akubita ku meza ati sinshaka kumva ibyo bintu.
Yeah, I heard it. So anyway, so the white priest was asking the people to share the story. Then when they started sharing the story, the white priest was like, no, enough. I do not want to hear this ever again. We're not going to talk about this ever again.
Ibyo byatumye numva mfite wa mugani ubwo bwoba bwo kuvuga ari amateka yacu nkumva ntabisubiramo kuko
that built his fear to talk about what he witnessed, because even that priest asked them not to talk about it again. So stop them from sharing his story.
Ubwo narakomeje ndiga ariko mfite ikintu cy'ubushake buke cyo kuvuga ngo nzabikora gute n'ubundi mbona nabo tubana bitabashimishije ibyo bintu.
So he started questioning himself. He said he was still studying as a priest, but then he wondered, he said, how am I going to do this if the people that I am going to be priest with, they are not actually they don't want me to share my truth. So how will I live with my truth if they're not willing to welcome the truth?
ubwo narakomeje ndihangana ngera no ku bupadiri mba padiri ariko nyuma y'imyaka 4 gusa ntabwo nakomeje narasohotse.
So he pushed himself, he studied, he became he was ordained as a Catholic priest, and he pushed himself, he became a Catholic priest, and 4 years later he could no longer hold it, and he left the vocation of a Catholic priest.
Ubu nkaba narahindutse umwangirikani ndi muri Anglican Church of Rwanda, akaba ari naho nkomereje ubutumwa nk'umuvugabutumwa.
He's no longer Catholic, he's now an Anglican pastor, and he's married, happily married with mufite abana babiri?
Dufite abana babiri.
Yes, so he's happily married with 2 children, and he's a pastor in an Anglican church.
Ubwo ubu nta kibazo, numva nishimye kuko nibura nshobora gusangira amateka yanjye n'abantu bamwe na bamwe, ni nayo mpamvu numvise mfite ubushake bwo kwandika igitabo.
So now he's feeling free because he can share his story to his congregation, to his people. He can serve God, and at the same time he can talk about his story to his congregation and remember the people, and also heal from what he witnessed during the genocide.
Ubu noneho ni nayo mpamvu mu gitabo cyanjye mu gice cya nyuma hari igice nashyizemo akamaro k'isengesho, kubera yuko ubuzima nanyuzemo mu isengesho nigiyemo kubabarira.
So in his book, at the end of his book, he's mentioning the importance of prayer, because it's through prayer that he learned the power of forgiveness, and he understood that the only way that you can actually heal is actually forgive.
Muri make ndabashimiye, ndumva ibikubiye mu gitabo cyanjye ndi gutunganya ni ibyo ngibyo, ntabwo nta bindi byinshi nshaka kuvuga, ubwo ndumva ibyinshi nabibasangije. Murakoze.
So he said in conclusion, his book is about to be done. You read the rest of the story when his book is out, which will be out. So his story is still amazing. There's more details, more challenging details, but he wants to encourage. That's his story in general. So the reason why he wrote the book is to talk about the power of prayer and forgiveness, and how it helped him to forgive, how it helped him to heal, and how it also helped him to know that for you, in order to heal, you have to share your story. And that's why now he's doing his vocation is serving God and also sharing his story. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Mufuziki nari mistake mbakuraho.
Okay, nta kibazo.
Mufuziki
narivuze ntiningira amahirwe iki gitabo kigatungana, mfite n'ikindi ndi guteganya kivuga ku mbabazi, akamaro ko kubabarira.
So he's at the same time he's writing 2 books. So once his first book is released, there is a second book that he's currently writing and talking about the importance, actually musura
akamaro ko kubabarira.
Oh, the advantages of forgiveness. Murakoze namwe, Monsieur or Miss Das.
Oh. Quelle histoire! Ces histoires, vraiment, c'est... Oui, vraiment, l'histoire de Fidèle, c'est une histoire inédite, parce que, comme vous avez entendu, les problèmes ont commencé en 1990.
So, Mr. or Miss Das is mentioning that Fidel's story is special because he's not a genocide survivor of the genocide against Tutsis of 1994. No, he is a survivor of the genocide that started in 1990 because he lost his siblings and his aunt and uncles and cousin and nephews and grand aunts and grandfathers in 1990. So he in 1994, yes, he lost his mother and his sister, but he lost most of his family in 1990. So his story is very, I won't say every story is unique, but it's very, I mean, Mr Fidele, mutubwire uko mubyumva igihe abantu bahakanira jenoside bakavuga ngo nta jenoside yigeze ibaho kandi mwebwe mwatangiye gupfushisha abantu muri 90. How do you feel? So my question to him, I'm asking him, sorry, I'm going to translate. Yes. I'm asking him, how does he feel when he hears people negating the genocide, when he lost 70, I'm a mathematician, so I'm going to calculate. Actually, he lost 73% of his family in the genocide in 1990, and then he lost the other in 1994. So how does he feel? How does it feel to hear somebody say there was no genocide, the genocide was not perpetrated when he lost his family, most of his family in 1990?
Ibyo njyewe ni nabyo byanteye kwandika mu by'ukuri ngira ngo nerekane ko kuko hari abavuga ko itabaye cyangwa se ngo ari ukubera indege, ariko mbere y'uko indege ihanuka abantu baricwaga. Nicyo cyatumye rero mvuga ngo reka nandike.
So for him, he said one of the reason why he wrote is because he hears people say, "Oh, the genocide happened because of the crash of President Habyarimana, or the genocide didn't even happen." But for him, before the plane was crashed 4 years prior, he lost his family. 73% of his family were killed in 1990 before the crash.
No mu gitabo cyanjye, icyo gitabo ndi kwandika mvuga na experience y'abantu muri 73 iwacu mu Ngororero muri Kibirira za Muhororo barapfuye benshi cyane.
So in his book, he's even sharing the testimonies of the Tutsis that were killed in the genocide that happened in 1973 in Ngororero and in the province, in the area where actually his family were living. In 1973
abantu baricwaga. Ubwo rero
in
ni ukuvuga ngo
1973 people were being killed. So you can see his testimony is similar to Mr. Alexander's testimony.
Ibyo rero byanteye kwandika aho kuvuga ngo reka nandike, wenda babihakana bazabisoma cyangwa bemere yuko na mbere yaho hari abantu bagize ibyo babaho bikomeye mbere ya 1994. Icyo ni nacyo cyerekana ko yateguwe koko.
So he had this drive to write the story and write the story of the people that were killed before 1994 to help the deniers to read the history with real testimonies of real people that lost people before 1994. And for those who believe that the genocide was not perpetrated, can also be educated and find out that it was before 1990, it was before 1973, it was even before 1968, it started in 1959.
Hari ibyo bitaga za muyaga, nabyo ndabivuga muri icyo gitabo. Za muyaga.
The air?
No.
Muyaga. I don't know how to translate muyaga. Hormisdas uradufasha.
Umuyaga c'est l'air, right?
Non. Je vais vous aider. Oui. Donc, Muyaga, il y avait comment en 1973, ont tué, disons, des Tutsis, mais pas tous. Pas tous. On tué une partie. Et en 1900, oui, en 1990, on a tué des autres. Alors, cette petite période, on disait que Mouyaga, c'est comme un vent qui passe. Hein? Vous voyez, alors on appelait Mouyaga. Petit à petit.
Okay, so in 1973, there was an operation of the killers called Operation Wind. So it was like a wind where they were
Yes.
actually they were not they were not killing. I'm sorry, it's not funny, but for me it is funny because it's interesting. So they were killing sorry.
Un petit nombre.
They were killing Tutsis in small amount, little by little.
Voilà.
So they were just choosing certain household to kill, but they were not killing. So they were just killing slowly and slowly. So it was like an operation called Wind. Because
Yes.
it just passes.
Mouyaga. Et puis,
Yes.
j'aimerais ajouter une chose.
Like wind.
Oui, parce que vous avez entendu Fidele parler quand il était dans une communauté, quand il voulait être prêtre. Voilà, chaque fois qu'il essayait de parler de son histoire, hein, vous avez entendu son prêtre qui a frappé sur la table. Il ne faut jamais parler.
Attendez que je traduise. So Mr. Omistas is highlighting the part where Fidele was saying that talking about the white priest who was when he wanted to share his story, and the white priest was like, no, I don't want to hear this ever again. Now I want to highlight that Mr. Omistas also studied to become a priest. He did you get ordained? You were ordained as a priest?
No. But I was a seminarist. I wanted to be priest.
Seminary. So he was studying to become a priest. Then he came out of priesthood or the vocation. Yes. But Fidele, he became a priest for 4 years. He was a priest for 4 years.
Vous avez, oui. Mais vous avez entendu que il a fait 4 ans de prêtrise.
So he says he was his vocation as a priest was 4 years.
Yeah. Mais vous avez entendu qu'il n'a pas résisté parce qu'il avait des problèmes, hein, parce qu'il ne pouvait pas parler de son histoire ouvertement. Alors, il a choisi de quitter.
He had a problem because he could not share his story publicly, so he decided to leave the Catholic the priesthood.
Voilà, je voulais souligner ça parce que même après, c'est que donc après c'est le pape a accepté qu'il y a eu le génocide et il a demandé pardon pour ces prêtres qui ont commis le génocide, parce que il y a aussi les prêtres qui ont commis le génocide, comme celui qui a détruit son église. C'est chef fidèle, celui qui a détruit l'église, il est de chef fidèle, Angorolero là-bas.
I'm sorry, it's not funny, but I love it. So Mr. Omistas is mentioning that it's important to note that actually later on the Pope had to publicly apologize on behalf of the Catholic committee and recognize that there was a genocide in Rwanda, and because there were even Catholic priests that killed their congregants, and he's mentioning a Catholic priest who actually came with a bulldozer. There were many congregants that were hiding in his parish. They went to hide in his parish. He brought a bulldozer and he destroyed the church with the people inside. And that priest came from Mr. Fidele's place where Fidele is from.
Il s'appelle Seromba Atanazi. Atanazi Seromba.
By the way, his name is Atanasis.
barahari.
He has the same name, the same first name as the person who killed my dad. So yeah, his name was Atanas Seromba.
Voilà. Mais finalement, le
Barahari,
pape
barahari.
a accepté que les prêtres, les sœurs, les chrétiens ont participé au génocide. Et il a demandé pardon à l'État rwandais.
So the Pope actually publicly recognized that the priests and the nuns, actually there was also the nuns that were arrested in
Yes.
Butare. That
Yes.
also killed.
Two.
That were also genocide killers. So he recognized that there were nuns, there were priests, there were all these people that were calling themselves Christians that killed during the genocide against the Tutsis of 1994.
Yes. Et puis, il a dit de participer à la réconciliation et d'aider à la réconciliation des Rwandais parce que lui aussi a accepté vraiment qu'il y a eu des prêtres, des religieux qui ont participé au génocide.
So he now, in his speech, he was encouraging the priests to help people or the world to help Rwandan to heal from the genocide, from what happened during the genocide, because he acknowledged that there were some people from his congregation, from his organism or organization that were part of the genocide.
Voilà. C'est pourquoi il y a des programmes de guérison et de réconciliation au Rwanda.
So from that speech, they started multiple programs and NGOs in parish in Catholic parish to help the people to heal and start reconstructing and bring healing among the Catholic congregants.
Voilà, merci, je voulais souligner ça, merci.
He wanted to highlight that. So, Monsieur Fidele, quel est votre mot de fin?
Quoi?
What is your parting word, your conclusion?
In my conclusion?
Mushobora kubivuga mu Kinyarwanda nta kibazo, I will translate.
Umwanzuro wanjye? Umwanzuro wanjye ni uko ngaragaza yuko mu mateka yacu harimo ukuboko kw'Imana. Muri ayo mateka nanditse ayo twahuye nayo.
Yeah, can translate it so that it's not a lot. So he said, in conclusion, he wrote to show the mighty hand of God in the history of our survivors of the genocide against Tutsis of 1994. The fact that we are not all dead, God had his hand on us.
Hanyuma ikindi ngewe ibyo nanyuzemo byose no kunyura mu iseminari byagiye binyigisha kubana n'abandi neza, nkamenya ko ibyabaye ari ibyago byagwiriye igihugu cyacu.
So his life as a priest, as a Catholic priest, and his experience as a Catholic priest allowed him to learn how to live, knowing that what happened in the country to his country was unfortunate and it was bad, it was traumatic, but we have to rise above it so that we can live together through forgiveness and live together as one nation and one people, one Rwandans, not Tutsis and Hutus and Twa, but Rwandans, so that we can live together and build our country.
N'impamvu nanditse n'impamvu nifuza kwandika ni ukubera yuko uwanditse arakira, ni muri wenda gahunda nakwita writing for healing.
So one of the reasons why he's writing, and he will continue to write and talk, because writing brings healing, and he's encouraging his congregation and his people, because he's a pastor. He's encouraging people to write because it gives them also healing. It heals them.
Nibyo ngibyo.
Thank you. That was it. So murakoze cyane. I cannot wait. Yanditse igitabo, mwanditse igitabo mu Kinyarwanda, ariko tuzakora ukuntu dushobotse icyo gitabo kizasohoka mu Cyongereza no mu Gifaransa, kubera abantu bakeneye kumenya amateka yanyu. Ni ukuri ya promesse mwakoze mwagiriye Imana muracyayikora, kubera even though mutari umupadiri w'umukatolika ariko muri umukristu murankurasha. So I'm very very grateful kubamenya, kandi icyo gitabo ntabwo nshobora kugisoma mu Kinyarwanda, so nayo mpamvu nkeneye kugisohora mu Cyongereza nkagisoma. So
murakoze cyane, ndabashimiye.
I'm thanking him for writing and sharing his story. And I say to him that truly, even though the promise that he had done to God to become a Catholic priest and serve him, even though he's not serving God as a Catholic priest, he's truly serving God in other way, because he's a Christian and he's sharing the light and spreading the light in the darkness and encouraging his congregation and people all over the world, because this video, this will go all over the world. We have people from America, Europe, and everywhere that are watching. So he's still doing his promise. He's still keeping his promise to God. And I'm so honored, and I'm telling him, even though his book right now is in Kinyarwanda, which I do not know how to read it, I will make sure his book is translated at least in English so I can read it. And I can't wait for the people watching us to be able to read it. So, Mr. or Miss Das,
ndabashimiye nanjye.
ndahari
mufite muri conclusion mbere yuko tugenda.
Yego, icyo nashaka kuvuga, hari aho ngira ngo Fidele avuze ngo ibyaba vient de dire que ce sont de c'est comme ibyago. C'est quoi, Fidele? Ibyago ni comme pandémie ou quoi?
Ibyago, it's like unfortunate. No.
No.
Problem, no. Event.
Ibyago mu Cyongereza. Ibyago.
Alors, je voulais dire que le génocide, ce n'est pas ibyago, ce n'est pas comme une pandémie, ce n'est pas comme, disons, voilà. Voilà, je voulais corriger ça. Ce n'est pas ibyago.
He said, I don't even know how to say it in English. So he said there's a word that Fidele used. He said that's not supposed to describe the genocide, because it's not ibyago. And I get it, because when ibyago, it's like it's something that could not be stopped. Ibyago ni circumstances zitari out of people's control.
Like
he used the word that means that it's like it's something that is uncertain. Like, for example, a pandemic is uncertain,
voilà,
a tornado is uncertain, but the genocide was perpetrated. It was planned.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Not something that just happened.
ntabwo ari ibyago, ariko wenda nari nshatse gukoresha ijambo ishyano ryagwiririye igihugu. I don't know
how to say it.
C'est difficile, vraiment, c'est très difficile, mais ce n'est pas ibyago.
Like I said,
icyo nshaka kuvuga ni uko atari ikintu cyiza nyine.
No, ni ikintu kibi cyane.
Ni ikintu kibi cyane.
Yes, whether it's in English, whether it's in English, muri Kinyarwanda cyangwa mu Cyongereza, there is no word that can fully describe what happened in 1994. There is no description. There is no word that can describe the atrocities that happened in the genocide. There's no word. Now kuna mushobora kuvuga mu Kinyarwanda, mu Cyongereza, mu Gifaransa, nukuri n'abantu bakoze the language, they could not describe it. They can't. There's nobody. That's why people call it hell. The other people call atrocity, the unthinkable. You cannot put a word that would truly describe what happened.
Non. Et puis, je voulais vraiment souligner l'opportunité que l'auteur Aline nous a donnée. Parce que vous avez entendu, Fidele cherchait l'opportunité pour raconter son histoire, mais il ne trouvait pas, même quand il était prêtre.
So he's highlighting the fact that's why I don't like translating, because now I have to talk about myself and I don't like talking about myself. So he's highlighting the fact that that this platform is important because Fidel was looking for a platform to share his story from the time he was a student, a priest, and he couldn't find any place. And now he found a place where he can come and share his story freely. So he's thanking the fact that this initiative to give people a platform to come and share their stories.
Voilà, je vous demanderai alors, Aline, de continuer à nous aider parce que moi aussi, il y a beaucoup qui m'ont demandé de raconter leurs histoires parce que depuis 27 ans, ils n'ont jamais raconté leurs histoires. Alors, vraiment, si vous nous donnez cette opportunité, vraiment, ça serait très bien pour les Rwandais.
So he's thanking me for giving them the opportunity. Je vous ai déjà donné cette opportunité, mais I will translate what you just said. But l'opportunité, the request is granted. But anyway, so he said that if I give him the opportunity, because there are so many people that have been looking for places or platform to share their story, and there are even some people that asked him, because he's an author, to share their stories, and he's asking if he can come and share their story. So I said that the request is already granted, but I was translating it for the English speakers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So thank you so much. Like you see on the banner, if you want to share your story, this is not a platform for Aline. God gave me a calling to give people a platform. The reason why I'm an American published author, it's because I believe it's not for my own sake. I could have just, published my book. My book is like worldwide, well sold. I could have just decided to keep it for myself. No, God called me to create a platform. He told me from the day I released my book, he told me, Aline, I am not allowing you to talk about your story just for yourself, but I am allowing you to share so that other people can have a platform to share their story. So I encourage you, please, if you want to share your story, like Fidel, he's been looking and praying for 27 years to share his stories. Next Thursday, we are going to hear testimonies that are that are, I don't even know. I encourage you to come. It's transformative, it's traumatizing. Please, Mr. or Mrs., make sure the translator is, please,
yes.
Make sure the translator is ready, because I'm not going to be able to translate the one on Thursday because I am already traumatized after I heard her story. So I
vraiment, j'ai dit, il sera disponible. On va l'aider.
Make sure his internet is the best, because I am not going to translate it. I'm sorry. Their stories are traumatizing. They triggered to me. I can't. So
vraiment.
mumbabarire mushake internet n'ukuri kw'Imana ntabwo nshobora gutraduza iyo sibishoboka. I won't be able to survive if I
understand. Tuzakora byose rwose azaboneka.
So we thank you all for joining us. Come next Thursday. I promise you, if Fidel's story look crazy, the one on Thursday, I cannot translate it. I promise you, that one I want. I let's put it on the way. If we can't
thank you for your translation.
We will have to postpone the interview because I will not be able. I can't. This is not possible because it's traumatic. So Murakoze, everybody, God bless you, Monsieur Ormistas. Can you pray for us and pray for Fidel?
Oh, Fidel can pray for us.
Yes, Padre Fidel, Pastor Fidel, can you?
Turagushimiye Uwiteka Mana yacu, tugushimiye ko wabanye natwe muri aka kanya, waturinze, waduhaye ubushobozi n'uburyo bwo kugira ngo tuganire ku mateka, izina ryawe rihabwe icyubahiro. Turatandukanye rero, ukomeze ubane natwe, uduhe umugisha muri byose, tubisabye mu izina rya Yesu Kristo umwami wacu. Amen.
Amen. Amen. God bless you and come back next week. No, not next week. On Thursday, it's September 30th at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 Eastern Standard Time, and 5 p.m. London time. So we love you and God bless you.